Hello everybody, we will be studying about Ricketsiae today. This Ricketsiae, it was first discovered by Howard Taylor Rickett based on his work on tick-borne spotted fever. Hence the name Rickettsia has been given. If we go to the classification, it is a bacteria. It belongs to domain bacteria. Class Alpha Proteobacteria, phylum Proteobacteria, order Ricketsiales, family Ricketsiaceae, and genus Rickettsia. If we have to study the morphology, it is a gram-negative in nature. It is a small-sized bacteria and pleomorphic. As you know, pleomorphic is a bacteria which has different shapes. So if it is cocci, it measures around 1 micrometer. If it's a bacilli, it measures around 1 to 4 micrometers. And if it is thread-like bacteria, then it measures around 10 micrometer. It has a cell wall and a cell membrane. The cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan, which is very thin layered. It is a obligate intracellular bacteria. That is, it requires a host. Obligate means strict intracellular. It requires a host for survival. It survives on other cells. It survives inside the other cells. If you can see here, these are the Rickettsia bacteria which is present inside another cell. Okay, it survives at the cost of other cells. Reproduction is by binary fission. Now, if we have to try to grow this organism in the lab, it cannot be grown on any artificial media like how we have for other bacteria. It has to be grown on some live tissues, okay, because it wants a live cell for its growth, or it can be grown on chick embryo. It's basically a parasite of arthropods. It spreads by ticks, flea, lice, etc., mites, etc. Now, in the Ricketsiaceae, in the group Ricketsiaceae, family Ricketsiaceae, there are different genera. Like Rickettsiae causes typhus fever and spotted fever. We will be studying this in detail. Orantia is another group which causes scrub fever. Coxiella, which causes Q fever, and Alicia, which causes ehrlichiosis. Rickettsia, coming to the first one, that is Rickettsia, it causes, as I told, typhus and spotted fever. In typhus, there are various classification. That is, typhus fever can be classified into epidemic typhus, Brielle disease, and endemic typhus. Now, coming to the first one, in typhus, that is epidemic typhus. The causal organism is Rickettsia provozaki. It occurs suddenly only in one place, and it is restricted to it is restricted to a particular period of time. Its vector is by lice or the feces of lice. How it spreads is, suppose a person is having lice, okay, head lice, and the lice is carrying this organism. This, when the person scratches the scalp would get damaged, and epithelial cells of the scalp will get damaged, and the organism from the damaged tissues of the scalp would enter into the person's body, reach the bloodstream, and then cause the symptoms. Now, what are the symptoms? It causes viral fever, viral like fever, okay. There is severe headache, there are chills, myalgia. Now, what is myalgia? It is a pain, it is body pain, pain in the muscles, etc. Then another thing is, it causes a rash, but then this rash appears 7 to 10 days after the initial symptoms are seen. Okay, if you see the incubation period, it is 1 to 2 weeks. Now, what do you mean by incubation period here? It is from the time, incubation here means from the time the organism has entered into the person's system till the body shows the first symptoms. So this is called as the incubation period. So it starts from 1 to 2 weeks from the organism has entered into the patient's body. Coming to the second disease is the Brielle disease. What the causal organism, symptoms, everything is the same here. It is Rickettsia prowazaki. It suddenly occurs. It is restricted to one place only. Okay, and the vector is lice. Now, what is the difference between the first and this one, epidemic and Brielle is that this is basically a relapse of the epidemic typhus. The person would be having the disease, would be suffering from epidemic typhus, and then later on would become healthy carriers, and now would get a relapse of the disease. So that is called as a Brielle disease. The symptoms would be similar to the epidemic typhus, but here if you see, the generally you get the rashes initially. Coming to the third one under the typhus group, that is endemic typhus. If you see endemic typhus, the causal organism is Musari, Rickettsiae musari or Rickettsiae typhi. It is the same organism, different people have given them different names. Okay, it is what is the meaning of this endemic typhus? How is it different from epidemic? Endemic typhus is a disease which is regularly found, that is throughout it is found in a particular area in a group of people. Okay, but whereas epidemic is not that. Epidemic is in one particular period of time the organism, this disease occurs. But this endemic is, it is found regularly throughout the year. It is found in a particular group of people in a certain area. Okay, and even the causal organism is different, that is Rickettsia musari. The vector here is the mice, and it transfers, through, it is present on the mice, the organism, and it transfers through rat flea. The organism here is Xenophila. Now the symptoms are again same thing like your other typhus. You have viral like symptoms, severe headache, chills, myalgia and rash. Now here the incubation period is about a week. Coming to the next group, that is the spotted fever. Typhus is over, coming to the next group, that is the spotted fever. Now spotted fever can be classified into three, that is Rocky Mountain spotted fever, Rickettsial pox and other Mediterranean fever. First under the spotted fever is the Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Now it causes by Rickettsiae. Okay, it spreads very easily. Okay, and it spreads through ticks, and the particular tick it spread is the exodate tick. Now the symptoms, generally you see the symptoms as a rash. First you see the rash here. In other things you saw typhus fever, you saw fever was the first symptom, and rashes generally appear 7 to 10 days after those symptoms. But here the symptoms are, the first symptom is the rash, that is it, the rash begins on the palm and the legs, and afterwards the other symptoms like your typhus, your fever, myalgia, etc. Okay, and again here the incubation period is 1 to 2 weeks. You can see the symptoms on the hand. Coming to the next one, that is under Rocky Mountain spotted fever, the second type of disease is the rickettsial pox. Now Rickettsial pox, the causal organism is Rickettsia akari. The vector is lice. Okay, the previous one under the Rocky Mountain spotted fever, it was not lice, the vector was different. Now the symptoms, it is self-limiting. self-limiting in the sense the person gets infected, he recovers by himself. Antibiotics are not required here sometimes. It's just like your common cold. You get common cold, even if you don't take medicine, within few days you are cured out of it. So that is called as self-limiting. The symptoms are like your smallpox like symptoms, like how you get your vesicular rash. The typical thing is vesicular rash, that is, you get pustules on your skin, blisters appear on the skin. Incubation period is 1 to 2 weeks. The next one, the next type of disease that we are going to see is the scrub typhus. The causal organism is Orencia susugamushi. The vector here, it is spread through mites. Now here you should remember, every organism and every type of disease, the vector is different, so you should remember the vector here. Okay, symptom is rash, fever and myalgia. It's not that intense thing, it's generally a rash, fever and myalgia. The incubation period is about 1 to 2 weeks. Coming to the next type of organism, that is Coxiella. The very important organism in Coxiella is Coxiella burnetii. Now this is the organism which is spread through aerosols. Okay, now what is the meaning of aerosols here? Now when you sneeze out or when you talk out, aerosols come out of your body, out of your nose, out of your mouth. That is your saliva along with the bacteria inside. So that is called as an aerosol. Okay. Now this was named, Coxiella burnetii was named after Cox and Burnett, two scientists who studied about this organism. It causes Q fever. Now why Q name has been given? Because they were not knowing about the etiology of the organism, they were just studying. So but symptoms were seen, so they just wanted to give the name of a disease query. It's just Q stands for query, so they didn't know the etiology, so that's why they have given the name as Q fever. It is, as I told you, it's a zoonotic disease. Zoonotic disease in the sense it comes from cattle, sheep and humans. It spreads from cattle, sheep to humans. Symptoms are they get fatigue, there is abdominal pain, there is fever, there is chills. Basically it attacks all the vital organs. It cause endocarditis, that is infection of the heart. They cause pneumonia, they cause hepatitis. Basically they attack all the vital organs. And as I told, this is the organism which is a zoonotic disease. No tick or lice are involved here, no arthropods are involved here, but from animals, basically cattle. And this is the organism, this is how it looks. Yeah, this organism. Coming to the next group of organism, that is Alicia. Now if you see Alicia, this is the organism, it causes ehrlichiosis, and the organism that causes ehrlichiosis is Ehrlichia evangi. Okay, it basically, I told you that this entire Rickettsiae group requires a host. It survives inside the host only, isn't it? Now this group of organism, Ehrlichia, they are present inside the WBC and they cause ehrlichiosis. Okay, it is also called as Senetsu fever. Okay, Senetsu. Ehrlichiosis is also called as Senetsu. The basic symptoms are fever, chills, headache, loss of appetite, okay, glandular fever, and here ehrlichiosis, it spreads through tick. The only organism which spreads through animals is Coxiella burnetii. Okay, now it is not a very serious disease here. The treatment, now suppose a person gets infected with Rickettsia, What kind of treatment could be given to this? Now, since this is a gram-negative organism, um, generally penicillin, such kind of antibiotics could not be given to them. Deoxycycline is basically the drug of choice that is given to the patients who are suffering from the infection caused due to Rickettsia. So these are the different groups of organisms under Ricketsiae family. You have to talk about all the four, but Coxiella burnetii and the typhus and the spotted fever are the important ones which you have to explain in detail. So thank you.